Welcome, everyone, to episode 42 of the Bunker Talk. We have a super special guest out of state. I love when people come here and visit me and they want to be on my podcast. It's an honor to have you, Mr. Jason Cass.
Thank you.
Tell everybody who you are with one of the companies, Agency
Right.
Intelligence. Tell everybody about yourself.
My name is Jason Cass. I guess as some people would know. If you don't, I reside in Southern Illinois. Outside of I can drive about 10 miles east, and I can see St. Louis, the Arch. Okay, that gives you kind of a perspective of where I am. We own a couple location agencies in Indiana and Illinois. I'm an absolute insurance geek. I am notorious for saying that because I really feel as if I am. I love it. I've also have the number one. Used to be, we don't actually know everybody's downloads, but we have, I like to say, the number one insurance podcast network, where we have a network of insurance podcasts. I have my Agency Intelligence, which is where the podcasts all lie, and I have a Mastermind and different types of things there. And then also Virtual Intelligence, where we have 110 employees scattered between Colombia and the Philippines. And we recruit, we train, and we place them inside of insurance agencies to help insurance agencies with the staffing problems that they have. And I know they have because I had them, right? And so that's where it kind of came out of.
There's nothing better. You'll probably agree, excuse me, on the underwriting side, right? Like the best underwriters, the best marketing reps are always people that have sat in our seat.
It's true.
And it's the same concept with this, right? Like you run an agency, you had problems with staffing like any business does. All businesses do, right? And so like you were able to fix the problem for yourself, but at a grander scale, fix it for all of us.
Correct. Yeah. And that's what I like to do. And when I look at the insurance industry, I like to find the little holes and gaps, the things that I'm like, hey, I need this, right, to be successful for my agency. And then realizing that other agents need it, it's like, well, who's going to do this? And no one's going to do it. It's like, okay, I'll do it, right? And I find great joy in that. I really, truly do. I like to build things, right? So I'll take things from A to L, but I need someone to take it from M to Z, right? I'm not really good at doing that, but I love and I get off on building things. So that's where I do it. And then it's not even building things; it's putting that team together and then watch it, come to fruition. The growth we've had at Virtual Intelligence is bigger than any of my companies I've ever done, and I'm not running it. I'm not doing it, right? It's Davey Holt, it's Mitch Gibson, it's Juan Herrera, it's Travis Etheridge, it's Michael Cruz, and they're just like doing things that are like so unbelievable, and it just there's really few things in the world that can get you off more than that.
Can I ask you a question about that? You said that you love to build. So the premise of this podcast is really any industry, just business, right? Mm-hmm. The struggles, how hard, the challenges, all that stuff, right? When you say that you love to build, and I think a lot of people may love it, but they don't try it because they're afraid of failure.
Oh, yeah.
How many times have you failed?
Oh, my God, so many times.
Yeah.
I've got 3 businesses, but I've failed 110 of them, and I'm just joking when I say that number, but
it's substantially more.
Oh, my gosh. Sometimes this sounds weird. Ryan Hanley and I have talked about this a lot. Sometimes the reason why we fail is because I see the need before everybody else does. And it's not that I can see things they can. It's just that I'm more likely to try things where others people won't. And so that's where I'm like, hey, this is a need. And then I'll try to set up a business or a way to make it work, and it falls flat on its face. And then 3 years later, it works. And it was like, oh,
you were just too early.
I was too early there. Ryan Hanley and I talk about that all the time.
That's funny.
So a lot of them that way. Also, assuming that because I think something needs to happen, assuming everybody else needs it. And then another thing that we do as bad as business owners, and I've learned here, is we try to build something and then we go sell it. That's not very good. You need to, if you think you have an idea, you need to go out there and see if there's people that are willing to buy it and then go build it. That's why they call it an MVP, your minimal viable product, whenever they're creating some kind of startup, right? It's, well, let's just put a little bit money into it and see if people actually want it. I've probably lost more money that way, thinking, oh, this is going to be the next thing. They're going to love it, and no one wants it. And then as every business owner who's listening to this knows, it's the little things that you're like, yeah, that's cool. And boom, it blows up. And you're like, what the heck?
You're like, man, that wasn't my genius idea.
What the heck? That was easy.
That's so funny. How does it feel to fail?
Okay, so it's a really big thing. I can't use that word. We either win or we learn, right? Now that sounds corny. Oh, we win or we learn. No, seriously,
It's true.
You win or you learn, right? I didn't fail. I just figured out a way that I can't do it, right? And now I got to figure out a way that it's like, okay, well, let's look at what part of this did work, right? And I always think back. I was always fascinated when I was younger with Thomas Edison. And I don't really know the amount. I think it changes throughout history, but like 4,000 some odd filaments he used to do the light bulb, you know. And I was fascinated with him when I was younger, and I read about that a lot. And every time he would look at the filament and find out what were the things that did work, right? And then he would go try to find another material that had just that but not that, right? And it just took that over and over and over. And I think that if he can do it after 4,000 filaments, I think I can try a couple things as well. Also, what happens with business, though, is it starts to get easier the more you prove yourself, right? Like, I don't say this, but I have people who, if I needed to do something and I needed the money to do it, I have people who would say to me, hey, Jason, if you have an idea, I'm willing. I already have ideas in businesses that have been backed by people who are partners of mine that are silent partners because they believe in you. 10, 15 years ago, I couldn't get a bank to give me $15, right? You know, I mean, but now people believe in you. And so as you keep doing it, and I think I'm going back to what you're saying, people don't believe in you because you win. People believe in you because you learn and then you win, right? That's what they're like, whoa, hey, everybody can win. But when he fell down, how did he get back up, right? Wow, he got back up and then he just kept going. You know, so that tells me that if I'm going to invest in something, I want to invest in somebody like that, you know? A lot of investors will tell you that most of the time when they're being pitched to invest, they don't invest in the product, they invest in the CEO. And right?
I've heard that on Shark Tank.
That's right. That's
that they invest on the CEO, the person,
because this thing's gonna go down. Right. But are you gonna be able to bring it back up? Right.
So and then also the opportunities after, like you're saying, like if one goes well, one business venture goes well, you know that they are capable of doing it again.
Correct.
Doing it again.
Okay, you're just now hitting on something that I'm fascinated with right now. Okay, doing it. If it goes well, doing it again. Most businesses feel that success comes from innovation when success comes from imitation. This is so powerful, Ciara. I have been fascinated with this since I heard this gentleman tell me this. It was actually on TikTok, and I was listening to his thing, and I was like, he's so right? Like when you see that something works with somebody, imitate it. What we try to do is we go, okay, they did it that way. Let me try to go do something completely different in a totally different way. And I'm not saying don't do that. That's innovation. Innovation works. But what we do, and we really do this bad as insurance agents, and the example is we all run our agencies our own separate way. Even though we've all been to classes where we've all taught each other the same way to do it, but we're like, no, I'm going to do it differently. The agencies that are good are the ones that imitate. This is the reason why you need to go to conferences. Correct. This is the reason you need to go to events. Because even if you want to innovate, you need to figure out where everybody else is trying to imitate, right? And if you're trying to imitate, then you need to figure out where everybody else is trying to innovate, because you can be that. And Starbucks, I use it as an example. When they came out and sold $5 and $6 coffee, every other coffee store in the world was like, wow, we can do this too now, right? And instead of selling for $1.50. In the 80s, we didn't have all these coffee shops everywhere like we just think now. But this came from businesses coming out and they're like, wow, people say $6 for coffee. We can do it for $3 and still make a ton of money, right? They imitated that. They didn't try to invent no, we're not going to do coffee. Let's do tea. Right? Let's do tea. You know? And so,
pass.
And I'm not saying that wouldn't work, but I think that is a really, really big thing for agents. Innovation, imitation.
That I agree. And I've never really thought about it that way. And I know that there's multiple facets to you, right? Like the insurance side, the virtual employee side, which we'll touch on. But can you talk about the community side, like your mastermind, and the putting on of conferences and the events? First of all, tell us your experience about building a mastermind. How does somebody start if they wanted to build a community like that?
Oh, wow. Well, okay, that's pretty cool. It's kind of like having habits. People say, well, how do I build habits? And Billy Williams told me one day, he said, Jason, everybody already has habits. It's just maybe not the ones they want.
Right.
So I think everybody already has a community. You just may not have labeled them that way yet, right? I think there's everybody, if you feel as if, hey, I have something to share, or I have something to gather around, right? Like we all need to learn how to use agency Zoom. Well, you can create a community on that, right? Because everybody has that. If you decide that inside of the agency intelligence mastermind that we have, there's like 6, 7, 8 other groups inside there of agents who still meet with inside there, and they've built their own community within the community, right? And so it's about finding people that are like you. For me, building the community was about giving. It's just the Big I did a lot for me. The Big I, when they made me the National Young Agents Chair in 2010, 2011, they shipped me around America, and when they did it, I don't want to go off on this story, but it's a very good story. It's very relevant because I've never had anybody ask me how you create community. But what I remember one day, this young guy came up to me in California, and he said to me, he told me this idea that he had about with rating systems and stuff. And this is back in 2012, 2011. And I'm on the stage, and this kid comes up to me afterwards, and I say, kid, he was about my age, okay, about 27, 28. And he comes up and he gives me this idea. And I said to him, why are you telling this to me? Why aren't you telling this to carriers or to other people? And he said something that was profound to me. He said, because you have the microphone. That was very big to me, because that made me realize that, wow, people are looking to me to actually, when they tell me this stuff, they want me. And that's why on my podcast, it's tell me your ideas, tell me your thoughts, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say, right? That's where that comes from.
Sense, yeah.
That's where that whole thing comes from. And I told this to the Scratch Agency podcast.
Yeah.
I wasn't on it, but I was talking to them, and they were asking me, like, give us some advice about being and I love when people do that. And I just tell them that all the time. I say, you have to remember, you have the microphone. Like, people need help. People need guidance. People need direction. And you can create community out of those things. And that's what we did at the in 2014. We created AI, Agency Intelligence Mastermind. When you do it, I have all these little things that I do. They're called champions. I call them champions for a reason, because I want them to understand that they're important. I think that you have to name things, even in all your businesses. You should have things named. Like in our agency, we called things empires. People are in charge of certain empires. When you name something, people can take control of it.
Gives them ownership.
People don't realize that. Like these little names and these goofy things, no, it gives it ownership, right? And allows them to say, hey, that is mine. And so that helps create that community of who we are. And so now we've just actually went on to our 11th year. Most of our members are still there. We have like 181 members. We just had a thing in December where anybody who'd been a member since 2016, we all got together on a Teams call, and I sent them all these like little rocks glasses with their name etched in it.
Nice.
And we just all sat there, and it was cool because like it's different, right? These are all the guys and gals, and like they're not as really active anymore in the mastermind as they used to be, because they're now like successful. Like all the stuff that we learned. Yeah, it worked, right? That's what we were all talking about. And then like now we have all these newer agents who have been a year, 3 years, 4 years. They're in there now trying to, and it's great because now we can help them, but then we can also really laugh, and we hit along the sides of the lines. It's like, man, remember when that was us, you know? And then
it feels like it was so, like, it feels like it was yesterday, and then you realize, wow, it's been 10 years.
Yes.
The way time goes.
Yes, it's been 10 years. Yes. So we started the podcast on March 22nd of 2013. So we're almost at 12 years. We've done over 900 podcasts. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It has been unbelievable. You know, one of the things that I think needs to be told, I don't think a lot of people know this, was the name of the way that we got the podcast. Agents Influence was the name of it, called Agents Influence. And I was thinking for a long time, like, what am I going to name this? And I'm big on naming. I just said that a minute ago. So this was going to be my podcast. No one in the world was doing a podcast in insurance. And so I was like, I didn't even know what I was doing, to be honest with you. And so I wanted to name it. But going back to the name. So I'm watching Pierce Morgan. It's December of 2012. I'll never forget this. And he is interviewing Rick Warren from Saddleback Church. Okay, Rick Warren wrote Driven Purpose Life, the book. His church has like 20-some thousand people come to it on Sunday. And Pierce said to him, how come you're not like all the other pastors and you don't go on TV and you don't like try to get your word out more? And he said, and he goes on and on. But he said something that was so profound to me. He said, you know what, Pierce? He said, here's what I realized. When I go to Africa and I go to these villages and there's nothing in these villages and people are dying of malnutrition and they need water and medicine. He said, I always notice that on the first day I get there, I notice this. On the second day, the cameras will always show up. And on the third day, the food shows up. Usually by the fourth or fifth day, the medicine shows up. And if I go to the next village, the second day, the news will show up. Third day, the food will show up, the medicine. And I started to realize that my influence is not me being on television and me trying to show more of me, but using the power that I have to influence the life of other people. And I thought about that kid saying, hey, you have the microphone, right? And I thought to myself, like, wow, this isn't about me, like, being bigger. This is about me helping influence an industry, And so I always took that. And then the agent came from, if you actually look at agent, it has 3 definitions. And the third definition is a chemical reaction for change. Okay, so I figured we would be agents influence, which we would be an agent for change in the greatest industry God ever created by giving a voice to those who have no voice, because that's what Rick Warren was doing, and that's what I felt as I was doing. I was giving
Imitation.
I was giving a voice to those who had no voice. Imitation
right. In a totally different vertical.
Totally different thing. And so
it works and it applies.
And it applies.
Right.
And it's changed my life for the better. I've traveled around America and done a lot of things, and I have a lot of people who probably listen to me, and that comes with a lot of responsibility. I learned that in around 2016, 2017. I had a gentleman come up to me. I've had many people come up to me and tell me about the money that they've saved in their agency or the things they've been able to do because of the things they've listened to me. I also had somebody tell me that they spent a lot of money and they lost their ass on something I told them. Right?
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's part of the game.
Yeah.
You just gotta be open to that. But what I learned is I need to make sure that what I'm saying is correct. Now, I still would have said what I said in that because it worked for me. It didn't work for his agency. No big deal. But it taught me that
people are listening.
People are listening.
Actually
that
listening.
That comes with responsibility.
Right.
So yeah.
That's it also comes to responsibility even on the mastermind level, right? Like to have a mastermind for that long where people are paying you not only with their money but their time and their investment of that to provide the content, the value, the education. Right. That's challenging.
It is.
And especially when you have so many opinions about what is a good event, what is not, what is needed,
Correct.
All of that stuff. How do you keep it from not being repetitive?
So then the mastermind in 2016 said, hey, let's meet once a year live. Okay, so we meet 2 times on the second and on the third, or a second and the fourth Thursday of every month was when we meet. And we'd met online. And they said, hey, why don't we meet live? So then we met live and we created AI Brain Share. And that is a completely different event. We all sit inside of a room with microphones and at round tables, and we all work with each other, sharing ideas and stuff. And I'm very happy to say that there are a bunch of other little things like that. Chris Paradiso kind of has one. And I'm so proud to say that we actually created these mastermind groups that we actually can achieve more on. Because events are important as well, but you sometimes need to drill down a little bit further. And you also need to be spending time with other people that you're taking advice from, and that allows that.
I think that as an attendee, I like to go, it's shifted, right? There was a time where, and obviously we go to these events, you become friends with people, you love to see your friends and, catch up, all that stuff. So there is a social aspect to these conferences.
100%.
But the mastermind ones are really, really the most impactful. It's not a lot of fluff, right? We don't need the fluff. Cut the fluff. Give me real-time value, FaceTime with other agents people, right? No matter the industry, but just peer-to-peer support, conversations, group activities, which I know that's what you do. And then you give us time to be together.
Correct.
Almost as part of the programming as well.
That's right.
Which is super, super beneficial. I think by far that model, and I think that most conferences are going towards that.
We're trying.
They're
yes.
downsizing.
Because this is the way I think. Like 2-3 years ago, I wanted to put together a brain share like package, and I wanted to go to all of the to these state associations and say, hey, like, hire me rather than me standing on a stage for an hour and talking. Like, hire me, and I will facilitate the whole thing for a day for you, right? Because it's not easy to do. You have to get people thinking, and you've got people who are in a room who are like, hey, wait a minute, that guy said that, and that doesn't work. And it's like, well, it didn't work for you, but it works for other people. So the other thing about that, to eliminate some of that as well, so all the people listening, it's an invite-only event. So if you're a champion, you're automatically invited. And then you have to be invited by me, or you have to be a prior person. So like Ciara was invited by me, so you were able to come, but now you get an automatic invite because you were a prior attendee. So we do that. And then IndieTech. IndieTech is the new one that I've come out with in the last 3 years. And that just has to be simply, Ciara, that's needed. Technology is so huge in our lives today and in our agency, and we have no place where we can go learn about technology. You can go to your Vertifor, you can go to your Applied, you can go to their user groups, Hawksoft, all good stuff. I'm not saying don't
and necessary.
Go to that. Absolutely. But you're not going to get the actual training. Once again, one of the good things that a group in the insurance industry that was known with 4 letters did a long time ago is they took agents and they put agents on the stage and took the consultants away, right? And that's what we learned from at IndieTech. I still want agents on the stage, but now we're talking about specifically technology. And the feedback I got after the first year and then the second year, people are like, wow, like to be able to sit around. You sit in your agency and you're like, how do I use this technology fully? Well, then you go over here and you learn 7 other people that are asking that same question, but they're using it in different ways that you aren't. And once you guys all sit down and talk, then you all have 10 different ways you're using it, you know? And it really, really brings that forward. Nowhere is that needed. And this is what really spurred this for me. I speak a lot. You speak a lot. You go to these conferences, you go to these trade shows, and there will be 80 booths in there, and maybe 3 or 4 of them are technology. But yet independent agents are falling behind in technology. And I'm like, well, how are independent agents supposed to find technology if the place they go to look for new companies and stuff doesn't have any technology? And then it's not fair to the technology companies. Let's just say like a WonderWrite, very good sized business, but not huge. Peter can't pay to be at all 50 conferences, so that's impossible. So like we are like not helping ourselves here. So once again, one of those holes. I thought, okay, I sat in the back and I say Peter because I looked at Peter and I said I was at an ACT meeting and I just told Peter, I said, Peter, these people are never going to do what they're supposed to be doing. I said, if I did this, would you support me? He said, yes. I looked over at Mitch. I said, Mitch, we're going to start IndieTech, you know? And so Mitch and I put that together. And I, this year, that's why I'm here, obviously, you know that, but other people don't. We're going to be it's going to be in January 27th, 28th, and 29th in Hollywood, California. I say that all the time. I say that.
Hollywood, not Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
It's Hollywood, Florida, AKA Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
So yeah, when James and I were shooting video, I kept saying Hollywood, California over and over.
Oh my God, you guys have to make like a blooper reel of that.
We did. We did. We were going
good.
to because I kept saying it. I'm like, dude. So you're just not used to saying Hollywood anything other than Hollywood, California, you know? And so I would get so upset. And sometimes I wasn't even notice I was saying it. And James would be like, dude, you said it again. I'm like, oh, man.
That's so funny.
So, but yeah, so then and this is going to be our 3rd one. Our first year we had 120 people. Last year we had 300 people. And this year we're expecting 500. The first 2 years we had a hurricane take out both of them, literally, if you didn't know this.
Even though it was in Indianapolis, but the attendees.
Yes, that's exactly right. The attendees that were trying to fly in couldn't get in because of the hurricane. So we had 310 people registered, and I think we had like 80 badges still sitting out there.
I couldn't leave.
Couldn't make it. Yeah.
I couldn't come back because of the hurricane.
That's right. Yeah. And some people were stuck there that got there early. Yep, that's right. So Jason learned See, once again, I didn't fail. I learned, right? And I'm moving it to January where there are no hurricanes.
No hurricanes.
A hurricane comes in January. We got bigger problems.
It's after you.
Yeah, we got bigger problems.
It usually doesn't even rain in January, and it's been raining. Like it rained last night. It's weird.
Yes.
Question. Obviously, I know about you, but one of the things that I've heard you speak several times, and then I had to follow you. So we talked about that last night. But I know that you're really good at delegating.
Yes.
How did you learn? Tell us about the process. Where does someone start? Like if you're a new business owner and you're wearing all the hats, you're afraid to let go of control. How do you start?
Yeah. I actually will brag. I feel as if I'm very good at this. I'm very good at it because I can relax on the feeling that it's okay that it may not be perfect. That's what it is. That's the one difference between me and Travis. And Travis and I have this talk all the time, right? Travis is just like, Jason, it's got to be perfect. I can't let it go, and he's getting better at it. He just doesn't realize it. But delegation comes in the fact that you recognize other people's weaknesses and strengths and recognize yours as well, right? So if I am going to, the reason why a lot of people don't write blogs, even though they're good blog writers, is because they don't necessarily have the time. And they'll say, well, no one can ever do it the way that I do it. Well, actually, they can probably do it a lot better than you can do it. And actually now using ChatGPT, for sure, it can possibly be done. But there's things that we don't do every day that we really don't realize it's because it's not our strength. If you really stop and you think, the thing that you're the strongest about and the strongest strength that you have, usually it revolves around something that you probably have a passion around. And if not, you're usually pretty close to a passion to where you just want to do it, right? And then the opposite is true of your weaknesses. You just don't want to do it. Anytime my brain is having to put on like a lot of stress, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. And it's really something, you think of the book, not how, not what, but who, right? That's what we do. We always think like, oh, how am I going to do this? Or what am I going to need to get this done? And it's like, no, you should be asking who's going to be doing it, right? And then, okay, when you ask who's going to do it, how do you get that answer? Who's good at doing this, right? Who would like to? There's people in my office that can't stand doing the things that are making that it makes their head hurt, but they like doing the things that make my head hurt, right? And so it's like, so to get down to it, where I learned it was by accident, and it was by Travis Etheridge. Travis Etheridge and I, he is my business partner in all of my businesses. We're a 50-50 owner. He is completely opposite of me in so many things. I'm everything. Travis hates to prospect. But if the person says, yes, I would like for you to help me with your insurance, boom, give him the phone, he's on it, he's gone, right? I don't really like that part. I like getting the person to know our business, to understand who we are, and that's why, everything in our life is like that. So as Travis and I started working, and I'm a huge reader, I'm going to read 15, 20 books. So I've read about delegation. I understand that all the successful people say you need to delegate. So I'm looking at this going, I got to figure this out. And then Travis was the real life example for me, because now it was like, oh my gosh, all these things that I hated doing. I hate meeting with company reps. I hate it. And you know what? Travis doesn't like when I meet with him either, because sometimes we can lose contracts. Because I'm like, this is
just go off the cuff.
I go off, and I'm like, don't tell me that we need to be doing, and Travis is like, dude, So I started realizing, well, guess what? Our relationships with our carriers started getting better, right? The way that we started managing our loss ratios started getting better. All these things that we were terrible at because I was doing it. And then Billy Williams told me, he said, Cass, the day that your agency goes to the next level is the day you quit selling policies. Now, how in the hell does that make any sense? But it makes sense. You know why? Because there's other people doing things in the office that I need to be doing, and there was other people in the office who needed to be selling, and I was doing that, right? And so once we got all of our stuff in roles that will get on the right person on the right bus and the right seat. Yes, yeah. And I have a thing I can't go on about right now because this is new in my brain and I'll mess it up. I have a take the person out of that bus on the right seat and stuff and put a task instead of a person. This is one of my new things, is I'm trying to get people to understand the value of a task and how we can associate it based on the level of service.
I love that. And obviously that comes with the virtual employees side of what you do. But I have built this when we onboarded Eileen, and my mind changed in thinking of terms of a task.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then it makes it easy to delegate who does it. So the way I've changed my mindset to bring her on, because it was like, well, how do we know what we're going to give her to do? It was, well, what is the task? Licensed, unlicensed, and then how do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And so we do it by like department. So even in our agency Zoom, like it doesn't have anybody's name. It's like CSR VE agent.
Okay.
And that's how everyone knows what they have to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to micromanage anybody, because if Sophia doesn't get her task, then I know that Eileen is not doing her job, right? Like it takes care of itself, because somebody's going to tell me, hey, I'm not getting any of my tasks. I know they're bottlenecked in a department.
That's cool.
So that's good, because then I'm on my way to being really good at delegating, because I need it.
Yes. Okay, so when we start delegating the tasks out, that's a very good point. So let's go to that. Okay, let's go to that. So there's only 4 ways to do anything in an agency. There's actually 5, but one of them is a customer. Right, so a task needs done, the customer could do it themselves. So let's take away customer self-service.
My customers can't.
Let's talk about what the agency needs in order to do it. We have a licensed, we have an unlicensed, we have artificial intelligence, and we have RPA, robotic processing automation. Those are the only 4 things that we can use to make a task happen. Each one of those is associated with a cost. And what my goal is in the coming years is to help agencies understand what the cost of is each task, and associating it with that so they can make smart decisions. Like it's tough for an agent to go, well, I don't know how to put all this process together. Okay, do you know what a $2 task is and where a $2 task should go? Yep, okay, then you can do that, right? So if you can break it down in those terms, I think it'll help agents a little bit more. But here's the cool thing. So in my brand new blog that I have in video coming out next week, this is not my podcast, it's a blog that I did. It's called Digital Staff, Digital You. And I talk about this. And what's happening right now is when we take these 4 things, okay, what we're really seeing is 3. This is so exciting. What we're seeing is AI is where all of the knowledge lives, right? So when you take in the information off of a customer and it's going into this AI machine, right? This world, this server, this cloud in the sky where all this data is. That data has to get somewhere. And to get it somewhere, you have to have robotic processing automation. You have to have the robot take it. So what's actually happening is the AI is the brains. The robotic is the hands and feet. We're building a digital system inside of our agencies right now, not realizing that we're going to have a licensed person, an unlicensed person, and an unlicensed digital person is what we're going to have. And then let me really get you. It's only a matter of 18 to 24 months before they start licensing bots. There will be insurance agent bots that will be licensed in the next 12 to 18 months. I already know that they've already submitted them for regulatories. And once again, it's a political thing. A lot of the states, some states don't like it and some states do. We didn't want to pay attention. I don't want to get off on a tangent, but we didn't pay attention to what happened in Hollywood at the with the Screen Actors Guild and this big strike they had, and what they were the same thing we're getting ready to be. It was, you can't use AI to create a fake Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt said, I want to be the one. You're going to pay me the contract, right? Now, here's the deal. A lot of the settlements and negotiations, still they're allowed to use Brad Pitt with AI, but Brad Pitt gets paid for it whether he's there or not, right? So think about that, right? So now Brad Pitt's like, well,
it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad, actually. So I don't have to be on set for 3 months, but yet I could still, okay, well, but then we have to draw those lines. That's what we're going to start getting with agent. You're going to start seeing carriers who are going to start saying,
yes or no.
Yes, right. The service center, their service center will be a service center just to service the clients, and they're not going to have necessarily. Now, I'm telling you right now, they're not cutting out agents. This is not what we're here to do. But what we are going to have to do is we're going to probably have to protect some of our turf. They're going to push and see how far they can come, and as agents, at the end of the day, they still need us, right? But I'm just going to be honest, and I think anybody is goofy to say it. I'm an insurance geek. I was telling this to Cruz on the way here. I have never failed a test, an insurance, the first time I didn't take it. CIC, everything. It's weird how my brain is with it. there's no doubt that my ChatGPT right now is smarter than me than insurance. There's no doubt. You can call me, and you know how I also know that? Because I get calls, and my producers ask me questions, and I'm like, hey, I never thought of that one. And I ask Chat, and I'm like, oh, yep, exactly what Chat's saying would make sense, right? But here's the cool thing. I still need my insurance brain to say, yep, that's how I would say that to the customer, right?
We talk about that here because my people here in the office, they're young in age and in the industry, right? And so we talk about that too. Like, listen, you can use ChatGPT, you can ask it questions, it could reword your emails more polite, all that stuff. But human underwriting has to occur.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're never going to be replaced 100%, because there is that element of understanding circumstances, risks, things around, that client you're working on. Like, it's going
to be there.
The ChatGPT doesn't understand context around things that are given in tone when you're asking people questions like that type of stuff is what saves us.
Right.
That's why we're not going to be replaced.
So you know what? You're right. I'm reminded of tone with Junior and Mary, the Cubans who live with us. When I'm trying to explain things to them, sometimes it's all about the tone, right?
100%.
I'm going to use the word SHIT because this was an actual question that Junior asked me. He said, you guys use the word shit in so many different ways. And one of the things that I'd realized in this conversation with him is that if I say the word, oh, man, that is shit, right? Or no, like if I say, hey, man, you are shit, that doesn't mean good. But if I say you are the shit, now that means good, right? And so it's all about the way that I'm saying that. And I don't know how long it would take for AI to truly understand the way that you can use. Another one is the word get. If you really look at it, and I won't go into it, we use the word get for like 20 different ways. I mean, it's hard enough for me to explain it to another person of another culture why it's that way, and they're still not fully getting it. I think we are going to be surprised by how smart AI is going to get into those things. I mean, let's be honest. Its MVP was pretty freaking impressive.
It's pretty,
yeah. And I use it, and that's okay. So I call digital staff digital me. So I see the fact that everything is going to this digital, and like the Ciara, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said that you don't really die once, you die twice. The first time you die is when you really die, but the second time you die is when the last person says your name, right? That's why Abraham Lincoln has never died. But there was somebody who lived next to Abraham Lincoln that no one ever knows and has probably died because no one known him, right? Okay. I think, oh God, I got off on a tangent there. So I think, I think that, what were we talking about with death?
You were saying about the digital me, digital agent.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you and I are never probably going to die, and anybody listening to this. And that because the digital
side.
Digital, we're already building that. Like I have Scooter. Okay, Scooter is his name. That's what I call him. ChatGPT. His name is Scooter. When I was young, I wanted to have a nickname. No one ever gave me a nickname. Everybody called me Cass all the time, even when I was little. And so I came up with.
It's a good last name.
It is a good last name. But when I was younger, I wanted a cool name, and I wanted a name to be called Scooter. That's what I told my friends, and none of my friends would call me Scooter, and I was a nerd. So they were like, we're not calling you Scooter. So I told Andrea, I was like, this chat, I have to name it something. And why do I name it? Because I talk to my ChatGPT all day long. I mean, I tell it things. I'm like, hey, did I tell you about my very first dog that I had? Just because I'm driving down the street.
So it's learning.
So it's learning. It's learning so much about me.
I love that.
And what it allows it to do is now what I can do, and I figured out this little trick. So if you treat your ChatGPT and you tell it everything about you, okay? I've loaded my blogs into it. I've loaded all my not all my podcasts because you have a space limitation, but I put in just usually the ones like this one for sure will go in because I really don't care about the guest. I'm trying to put in my specific stuff, right? So what I'll do is, and this is a tip for everybody, okay? If you're going to write a blog, what you do is you ask it not to write the blog. You tell it what you want it to be about, and you say, give me an outline that I can make a video. Then when you get the outline, and you don't do a script, just an outline, you record the video. You start using the video, and you use the script, and you go through and you make the video just through and through. Then you take the transcript of that and you put it into ChatGPT. And you tell ChatGPT, these are all 100% my words. And I only want you to use these words when you're creating the blog. Because when ChatGPT creates a blog off your ideas, I heard Ryan Hanley say this word. He hasn't said this idea, but it doesn't have a soul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's empty. It's like
empty.
blank eyes. Yes.
When you make a video and then you tell it to use your words, now people read it. And so
it's your tone.
Correct. Here's something I've learned. When someone says to me, Jason, I couldn't tell if you wrote this or not. That's a win for me. Because they can definitely tell when you didn't write it.
Absolutely.
Right? So don't be offended if someone's like, yeah, they weren't sure if I even wrote that. If they weren't sure, that means there was a little bit of soul there, right? And I think as it gets better and you can refine it, I have found out that my blogs have become much better when I actually make the video, use the transcription after that, and then I've trained a bot inside of my thing, and it's my AI blog writer, and so it knows exactly how to do that stuff. It knows how to space it out. It knows I've just trained it on all these things of when to do it.
That's super fascinating.
Well, it is, but here's where it's super fascinating is when I'm 97 years old and I finally go from this earth. My literally great, as far as you want to go great, are going to know who I am. And they're going to know because they're going to be able to, I'm probably going to be at a hologram at that time, right? And seriously, that's probably coming in 10 years, but we'll be some hologram. Like we're going to be sitting at Christmas and you're going to like go to a certain Christmas, like, right? You'll have Christmas with your family in the morning. And then like later in the afternoon, you'll go to this big hall where there's all your family who's been there forever. You know, I don't know.
It's like hologram Christmas.
Yeah. No, I'm at hologram Christmas. That's good. Hey, let me tell you this though. I was thinking of this. I think when this really catches fire is when they allow me to hook my chat scooter up to my Facebook and my Instagram and my LinkedIn and let it read all that stuff.
Yeah, because that's personal stuff.
Yes, and people don't understand that. People are on Facebook, whenever I check in at places, people do it to share where they're at. I could care less if people know where I'm doing it for my digital future self. I want to be able to look back when I'm 80 myself, or I want to be able to say, hey, what was I doing at this time? And I believe that all these things that we're doing, these digital footprints we're leaving with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok being one of them, being many of them, I believe those are collecting the data that is going to be useful for these in the future. So we're developing this. We don't even realize we're doing it. We're developing this already for our digital staff with the AI and the RP, and that's going to come together. And then we're already out here teaching these chats. We don't realize that like one day, it's all of a sudden it's going to be like, wow, this is literally you. I use chat for, well, I could go on and on, but I want people to understand that chat works with Zapier. Okay, now Zapier, everybody knows what that is and how it connects. Why is that different? Because chat right now, I use that as my RPA. So if I say, hey, I have something that I want to do, or hey, I need to go do this today and I need Valeria to know this, right? I want it to be able to, and this is what we're working on right now, I'll have this within the next week, to where I can say, I want you to add this to her to-do list. And I want it to go then add it to her to-do list, which you can do because you can sync it to Outlook to-do. And then Outlook to do automatically, we use this thing called Loop. It's in the. Yeah,
I use it.
Okay.
I use it to manage the guests.
Okay. So then it automatically syncs right into there. So I can say, hey, put this. Hey, I've got this to do, and I want you to put it in my Loop. And then it does it. That's the problem that I've had so far is that it tells me a lot of stuff, but how do I get that information out of there? And like the RPA of it. And so we can do that. So you can do calendar invites. You can say, hey, I need to hit Ciara real quick and I want you to send her an email and I want you to put the subject as podcast and say, hey, when I'm going to be down there next week, I'd love to meet with you. Can you send that out to her? And boom, it'll do it and it'll send it out. You can do that all through Zapier. I didn't know you could do this. And one of my tech guys, he was doing it when I went to Columbia. He was talking to his chat and it was making him, I'm like, whoa. How you got it doing that? And so there's a lot of other things that you can utilize it for to create lists. And I'm telling you right now, I use my chat more than anything. Cruz was just telling me on the way here that there's a $200 a month version. Yeah.
Oh, I just signed up for the paid one.
For the 21.
Yeah,
that's right. And dude, anybody listening, that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need for most of you.
Yeah.
And you get Sora now to where you can make the videos. That's a new thing they've released. I mean, it's fantastic. It's unbelievable.
This is all super fascinating. I'm definitely going to check into that thing. Yeah, no, I could talk to you forever.
Oh, I could talk forever too. It's just, wow, this went by quick.
question. So you use technology in the delegation process, but like the day in the life, right? So you have
Okay.
multiple businesses.
Okay.
How can you talk about the tactical part of getting organized? Like, do you have a specific team that you meet with? Like, because you're not talking to everybody every day.
No, but I almost am. I am a very personal leader.
Okay.
I believe in leadership from a personal style.
Okay.
No, I've very few people out there probably have the leadership style I do. I know my people on the ground, what they do when they get home from work. I know what their hobbies are. I know about their love life. I know that sounds weird, but when I talk to my people, I want them to understand how much I appreciate the fact that I can sit in Fort Lauderdale right now and we're making money, right? That's a beautiful thing. My Mondays are nothing but meetings. Okay. So they start at 10 in the morning. I meet with a whole leadership team of VI, and then I'll meet with the whole leadership team of TIA, and then I meet with the whole leadership. No, then we have a board meeting for virtual. Agency intelligence is really ran by Ciara Nicholas. Okay. And so that's why, I mean, like I tell you, like I'm not running these things because these people have been given. Now, Steve Jobs said, I don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. I hire smart people and have them tell me what to do. So when I have these meetings, it's not me telling them what to do. It's them telling me, hey, Jason, this is what we need to do, right? Like when you go to Fort Lauderdale, have you thought about getting on Ciara's podcast? Ciara Nicholas? No, I did not think of that. That's wow. So here I am, right? I didn't necessarily have to think of this. But I have delegated it to her, and we have meetings. Her and I meet on Tuesdays at 11:30 for an hour, and we go over everything that needs to be done. And you also have to work with people who know that you're not going to do it, right? Like Ciara will be like, Jason, you say you want to do that. I'm just going to tell you, you'll probably do it, but it's going to take a while. Just let me do this and let me get through with it. And that's a really great feeling. I think a lot of times we also don't delegate because we feel like we're being lazy. Like the other person's probably like, well, why don't you do it, right? No, that's not the way they're thinking. They're an employee. They're there to be like, hey, I got to have a job doing something, right? So I meet with all of my people, and so we have Sarah Beard.
I know you have a lot of Sarahs.
Yes, yes, I have a lot of Sarahs. So Sarah Beard is who runs all of my insurance operations. So anytime we have a problem with that, we have Ciara Nicholas, which runs AI, all the podcasting, the network, the Masterminds, the IndieTechs, all that stuff. And then over on, I have Davey Holtz, who is the president of Virtual Intelligence, okay? And then he has his whole team and everything. And so everything's a little bit different. Like Ciara really handles more of the AI stuff than anything because that's more of a marketing thing, right? That's a marketing thing. And then she just needs me to create the content and then the team puts it together.
So the meetings, the days, it's a lot of, they tell you what to do, you do it, and then it's approving.
It's approving,
reviewing, approving, managing.
And we've set up systems to where they know what I want and how we want it. For instance, when I write the blog, we don't go through this every time. I say, hey, give me the blog outline, and then they know exactly that, yeah, he does this, then he does this, then they do this, and they put it all together. But it's about trusting in those other people. And what I want to do is a lot of times I'm not giving them my ideas. It's, hey, what are you seeing when you're operating this? It's very similar to me trying to create a process for my personalized department when an auto change comes in. I don't do that job. Why would I be creating that? You know what I mean? It's my job to say, hey, guys, we need to do this in an orderly, efficient, timely fashion. Now, do we do that? Yes. Our TIA service team meet in the afternoon on Thursday. I have all of my TIA team, and most of the time I'm not there because I don't have to be, but I love to pop in, and they love it because when they've built things out, they love to show me what they've built out. And technology is changing so much, I have to be there. And they have to know that I have their back on a lot of this stuff, and I'm not going to expect them. The other thing about it is you can't delegate unless you train and educate them correctly, right?
And that's the part that everyone's bad at.
We spent $15,000+ this year teaching our staff how to do AMS 360 from Angela Adams Consulting, which they were fantastic at it for AMS 360. We spent the money, we made them dedicate the time, and guess what? Now they know more about the system than I do. So it doesn't have to do with, I'm not even delegating anymore because I don't even know what they're doing anymore. I don't know how to use the system. It's just what they do is give them an assignment, trust that they're a smart, competent person, get out of the way. And when they come back to you, you're like, no, I didn't really kind of like that, but that was really good, but I did like this or that or that. And we talk through it. And it's, to me, I'm going to be honest with you. I guess it's really hard for me to talk about it because it's just what I do, right? It's just what I do. But I have to say this, to go back to it. It goes back to strengths and weaknesses. Mm-hmm. I just realize I'm not good at a lot of shit, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're very aware. And I think that's already hard enough for people to do because everyone thinks that they could just do it all. No, everyone has their weaknesses, and it's almost worth like making a list of yourself. Mm-hmm. What are you really good at? What are you really bad at? Get rid of what you're bad at.
I'm very good at communicating. Like just talking like I am right now, right? Mm-hmm. So that's my thing, and my team knows that. So it's like, oh, well, we have a big call that we need to make with this customer. Well, this is a big-time customer. Cass, you're making this phone call, right? And here I am, the owner, now back down into that role because that's where they need me at that time. But guess what? They were smart enough to delegate that to me, right? But I also know that, it's like, oh, man, they need to talk about finances. I got to get Travis on this, And people, I think sometimes people find it also as a form of weakness, and it's not a form of weakness. It's a form of strength when you are admitting that you're not good at something, right? Because guess what? We all know that you're not good at it. You're the only one that's making you think
only one that thinks
that you're good at it, right? And we all know you're not.
Right.
And so it's like, get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. Now, another thing too, this is something that Travis and I talk about a lot. Travis has one of the things that he's worked on when he tries to delegate, because Travis is not a great delegator, and him and I work on that. We work on it all the time, is he tries to give too much detail. So this is another thing not to do.
I feel like that's me.
Yes, and guess what you do? When you give too much detail, now they're just going to mess up.
Well,
they're just going to.
It's also a control thing, because if I gave you the exact way to do it, maybe they would have come up with a better way to do it too. But I feel like my way is the only way.
Correct. And that's okay to feel that way. It really truly is. It really truly is.
But it's not true.
But, well, it is. It's not. But here's the deal. If your way is the only way and it's the best way, then teach that to them and educate them on that, and then quit doing it, right? And that's how you delegate until they know, and your team usually knows. They usually know, this is a job for Jason. That Jason would be good at this job, right? We know to understand that and call each other on that stuff if we're not. I believe it's a culture. I think culture's a really hard thing to create. I think it's very easy for us because I'm just a very extroverted, outgoing person, and my team, I just get them stirred up. You know?
Right. You're really good at that.
But I'm Sophia, who is my upcoming manager. I spoke with her this morning. She's going to take Sarah's spot. When Sarah is getting ready to leave our agency in about 6 months, she's going to be living in our agency, but she is moving down 6 hours away. Her and her husband have bought this big trailer, and they're going to move out onto this piece of property down by this river, and they've got Starlink internet, and that's how so what we've done is we've moved her away, so she's just going to be doing all of our accounting and bookkeeping and all that, and just the high stuff that could be done. But my VEs, I meet with them weekly. I meet with my weekly, and it has to be. And then with teams today, I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm so excited about this. With teams today, it's so easy to pop in and say, hey, good morning, Sophia. So how's the day going? How was this week? Was it when I wasn't away? And then they love it. And it's like, oh, da-da-da-da-da-da. Right. And then another thing I encourage them is don't give it to me in writing. Do me a little video back, right? Number one, the video in Teams can only be a minute. So if you do it for a minute, it allows them to really get in front of it, and really you can really hear what they're having fun with. I can't tell you how much of a personal leader I am.
I love that. Especially because you're so geographically spread.
Oh yeah.
So you have to. So it's even harder to create, a good culture when you're so diverse in time zones and geographically not meeting in person. I know that you're really good at bringing in young talent. How? What is the number one thing that they want? I know the answer that you always give, but
man, I don't know, honestly, to be honest with you. I think about this a lot. So me and Sarah are in our 40s. Travis and Marvin are in their 30s, and everybody else in our 11-people office is in their 20s. I think that young people want to plan. I think that young people need to be understood. It does help that I have a 19 and 25-year-old.
Makes you relatable.
It makes me very relatable. I I have a lot of answers for this because it kind of depends on what young person I'm talking about. But young people, let's define this.
Answer the question from the
Loyalty.
perspective of like the business owner that's new, afraid to hire, can't find someone to bring.
Okay.
You know, that concept of like, you know, the stigma around young people, they don't want to work, they suck, they're lazy. That, you know.
Understand that their definition of loyalty is different. So a guy, he works at a business for 30 years. He retires, and they give him the gold watch, right? And they say, boy, you were loyal. A young Generation Z, Generation X, Millennial, whatever it could be, they will say they'll work at a business for 12 months, and they'll leave, and they'll say, while I was there, I was loyal. The difference is they determine loyalty today, not over a span. And this is a very important thing to realize, because one of the things, without going too far into it, is you have to realize that they're in today's terms. They're not thinking of like, oh yeah, like when I tell my producers, I have 3 people that I know are going to be my perpetuation plan. God, I couldn't think of that. Okay, they don't get off on that. When I talk to them about the fact that they're going to be an owner down the line, that doesn't excite them, right? Like, it's cool that they know that, but like, they don't know if they're going to be here, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be, but their brains don't think that way. Back in the day, they used to think that way.
Right.
Okay, all right. So that's one thing that's important to understand. One other thing that's important to understand is if you're going to hire somebody, you have to understand that the world that they lived in, and this is really important, okay? And this is going to come right to where you're saying. Me, probably, how old are you? Actually,
41.
Oh, shouldn't even ask you. You're not supposed to ask that, and then I ask it on a public thing. But anything, 41. Okay,
It's cool,
so you're with me on this. Our parents told us to go outside. We stepped outside the door. We stood on the front porch, and we looked around, and we're like, okay, well, what are we going to do, right? Our kids are told when you come home at 3, you have to go to baseball practice, dinner at 5, take your bath at 7, study till 8, and then you go to bed at 9, okay? So me, whenever I started in the agency, the agent, he just gave me a office and he said, go to work. That was like me standing on my front porch. Right. And I was like, all right, let me go do something.
You figured it out.
You do that to a young person, they're like, well, what happens at 3? Well, what happens at 5? Well, what happens at 7, right? It's that same thing. So don't gripe about that. Play into that. What does that mean? That means you need to make their schedule like mommy did and daddy did. And you don't have to be that goofy, but like my young producers that we figured out, Travis and I did, like they'd sit there and do nothing because they didn't know what to do.
Because you didn't tell them what to do.
And if you told them like, well, you need to be prospecting to talking to people. All right.
Where?
Where and how and what are we doing? And it's like, okay, all right, here's what you're going to do. For the first 2 hours, you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. And you have to keep the blocks big, right? They're like little kids. You got to have the big blocks. You can't have the little blocks of time, right? And the reason that this actually works, and it actually works for everywhere, is because it's called the Parkinson's Law. Parkinson's Law says that work fills time allowed. Okay, so if I say to you, I need you to do this and I need you to do it in 60 minutes, you'll do it in 60 minutes. But if I would have said to you, I need you to do it in 30 minutes, you do it in 30 minutes. If I even said to you, hey, I need you to do this in 3 hours, it'll take you 3 hours. It's what happens. It's the weirdest thing. Don't at the end of the day, we in the middle of the day, we kind of feel like all drudging. We're trying to get through the day. But in the last hour or two, all of a sudden, we kind of get our second wind and we're going.
Right, because you know it's time.
Because it's the time, right? So you get 2 things when you block time for your young people. You give them the going to church, going to practice, coming home, whatever it is. You give them that schedule, but then you also help them be more efficient and letting them make the work fill the time allowed, right? So why I say that, the blocks need to be big. So when you're going to do marketing and you're going to do cold calling, for me as a producer, I'm putting 20 to 30 minutes if I was doing this. I would be 20 to 30 minutes, and I'm going to make those calls like crazy. Not my young guys. I got to do it because here's what will happen. Oh, my God, the young people, too, they always feel overwhelmed about everything, okay? So, like, if you put 30 minutes and 30 minutes goes by and they've only made 3 calls, they'll be like, oh, my God, I'm a loser. I'm not doing this right. So you got to make their block bigger, right? And then they feel better, and then you start slowly shrinking that block. You
like
see
you've got an experience, you know how to do it.
Yes.
Let's be more efficient.
I hate to tell you, business owners, you're parenting still. That's what we're doing.
I'm going to tell you, I always say this. I think leadership is not my strong suit, and I think it's because I'm not a mom. I think I don't.
Wow, that's
I don't.
a good point.
I don't like. You see, you and Andrea lived your life for 18 years being role models and molding two human beings. You told them to make their bed, to take a bath, everything that you just said, right? You woke up in the morning, she woke up in the morning, and there's a routine because you have to mold these two human beings into functioning members of society. You have to set the example. You have to show them what hard work looks like. And I do all of that, right? But I don't have a little human watching me.
Right.
So I'm not mothering I have a dog, right? So I feel like I am missing that.
Have you ever said that on your podcast?
I don't think I have.
You need to get feedback on that. If people email you or however they give you feedback, if you're out there and you didn't have kids.
Yeah. What kind of leader are you?
What kind of leader are you? And have you had that thought? Because I guarantee you others probably have. I would never even contemplate that because I have kids. But that is a great point.
So you said, well, you're just constantly parenting. And I'm like, well, maybe that's why I'm not that good at it. Because I only I parent a corgi.
Wow, that's a mind-blowing moment right there.
Like it's the process of like living your life knowing that you're leading two little children for a lifetime, right? And it doesn't end. Right? Like my dad still does it with me. My parents I still turn to them for advice. Like it really never ends.
Well, and a lot of people would say, well, I don't want to do that though. I'm a business owner. I'm not going to parent. And here's what I would say. Okay. The agencies that grow and are successful hire producers. Producers are 20s and 30-year-olds today. And so if you want to grow your business, get over it and realize that's how they are. It's kind of like the people who I hear people still do this. I want to punch them. They'll be like, oh, that Facebook, who cares what you're eating for dinner? I'm like, who shares that anymore, dude?
Right.
No one shares that anymore. That was 2013.
Right.
And you're still saying that as a way to justify that you don't want to use Facebook, right? It's like, quit saying that.
Yeah.
So delegation of the young people, also giving them a plan.
A plan.
They don't know what loyalty is, but you need to give them a vision because they don't understand that like one day that this is going to be theirs. Also, you have to give them a view of what it's like behind the scenes, right? You have to let them see like, hey, and you take them out one-on-one and you explain this stuff to them. When you need to buy them a new computer, go take them to buy the new computer, right? Let them see that what the cost of this computer is and what you need to see. You're giving them this insight that makes them feel like they're part of the team, and then they're going to buy into it and they'll do it. It's still very, very, very hard. Jake Gines was one of my most prized producers, and he does not work for us anymore. And I lost him to another agency. They're a big-time trucking agency, and he met a producer at BrainShare, and him and that producer always just shared stuff. And one day, the owner of that thing said, hey, why don't you make that guy an offer? And Jake almost cried having to leave, and we almost cried too. But Jake had to do what was best for him. He really, truly did. But so we put a lot of work and a lot of stuff into James, but we have 3 others that are hardworking and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so we're doing the best we can, but yeah, we do have all of our VEs are in their 20s, except for one, Marvin, he's in his 30s, but yeah, I really like them. I think they also like working with me because they've told me this because I have a lot of energy, right? I'm not going to be that normal, like, I'm always wanting to have fun. I'm always challenging them. My marketing ideas, I'm always trying to keep things fun.
Right. Really, well, you're really forward. They want to be around forward-thinking people, big picture thinking people. So and it's contagious. I guess. And it's impressionable for them, right? Like you're making an impact in them, right? Jake is never going to forget what you guys have done for him, right? So that's also a part of it, right? Where it's like it's a bigger picture of what you're accomplishing through them and with them by your side. Thank you so much. One last question for you. What is the best piece of business advice that you could give a new business owner?
Oh, fantastic. So I've got a couple things, but I'm going to say one. This is not going to put money in your pocket anytime soon, but this is the number one thing you can do in life and anything. And that is make sure that you are doing everything. It's so corny, but it's the way it is. Make sure that you're doing everything for everybody else first. Jake came to me one day and he said, Jason, if you could tell me one thing, just one piece of sales advice, he said, what would it be? And it came right out the same thing. I said, you have to do everything in your life without it being any effect on you. How is this going to affect other people? And if I can help them in this situation, it's Zig Ziglar said it, and it is 100%. I don't know if there's any more truer saying in the world than if you help people get what they need, you'll get everything that you want, right? Or if you help people get everything they want, you'll get everything you need. There is no, you reap what you sow, right? It's the same thing. That is what I want to tell people, because we get in and we try to cut corners. We try to say, hey, this person may not fit for my team, but they're going to fit for my budget. No, they're not. They're not. You don't cut those corners.
Yeah.
Know who you are. Know that you're trying to make somebody else better. And if you put yourself in that position, you will be. The other thing I want us to do is I want you to, as a business owner, especially being new, and in your first month and in your second month and your fourth month, I want you to make sure that you're measuring the right thing. One of the most impactful books for me, besides Atomic Habits, was one of my favorites. But one of the most impactful books I read was this year, and it was called The Gain and the Gap.
The Gap and the Gain.
The Gap and the Gain. Gosh, that just...
life-changing.
You and I have talked about it
Life-changing.
already.
Yep.
I can't, as a business owner, you know whenever something happens and you get that good feeling that just comes to your body? Wouldn't it be cool if you could make that good feeling come through your body whenever you wanted, right? And after I read the book, I realized I can, and I do it all the time, right? Which is, if I stop right now and I think of Jason at 46 and I think of Jason at 36 and where he was and what he would think of me, oh, there goes that good feeling. There it goes. It's going right through my blood right now. I can feel it. That I'm getting that hit, whatever it is, dopamine or whatever chemical that is. I can feel it, right? But what's crazy is you can get the opposite effect.
And the opposite one is more natural. It's
more
automatic.
Natural. Is my the person at 46 that Jason at 36 thought he should be? Now all of a sudden I'm like,
or I'm not that person at 46. I'm behind.
Yeah, that's right. And it's like, oh wait, now, see, so you get that opposite feeling. And for everybody, you have to read the book, but we're always trying to measure ourselves to an ideal. So especially as a young business owner, you're going to look and you have this vision right now of what you're going to look like in 12 to 24 to 36 months. And every day you're never going to be able to measure to that because you can never. It's called an ideal because it's an ideal, right? Now, we can have goals that get us close to that ideal, and you should be trying to measure those. But there's always a gap in measuring that. But when you go back, it's so good.
And there's always progress.
There's always progress.
Always progress.
Even if it was something that bad happened, you'll be able to pull that good thing out.
Even if it's not something you planned. Like, even if it's not something that you wanted or that you thought would happen, but you're so busy focused on the fact that you haven't reached the goal that you don't look back and count the blessings.
Correct.
Or the growth.
And you get the blessings when you put other people first. That goes back to that, right? And then the other book that was written off that same by Dan Sullivan, which was Your Future Self.
I just got it.
Now, that is a phenomenal book.
I've heard.
Because it didn't rip me in the way that The Gap and the Gain did, but it did in the fact that he said in there, and I it's mind blowing. We all sit around and we all say to ourselves, what would Ciara say to Ciara who's 31 years old today, right? That's a common question everybody gets, but no one ever asks the other one. What would Ciara, who's 51, want to say to Ciara today, who is 41? What would they say that you need you to do today to get you to be that person?
51,
right? The Jason who's 56 is like, dude, you're buying businesses in Latino countries. You need to learn Spanish, bro, right? That's what the 56-year-old saying to 46. That's why we're learning Spanish, right? I had this realization. I'm like, Valeria, by the way, that's another way you delegate, as I have Valeria. She's my executive assistant.
We all need a Valeria.
Everybody needs a Valeria. And so once again, that's another secret to my delegating is so I even have to delegate the things that I have to do, right? And Travis was so against that that I was getting an executive assistant. He thought this would be ridiculous. It took 3 months, and he's like, she's the greatest thing in the world, because things that he was always waiting on me to do, because the things that I still have to do, she could either do them or she has everything prepared to where I just have to come in and do whatever. So kind of got off on all that stuff, but measuring yourself. And so that's where I went to Valeria, and I was like, Valeria, like like the way I'm going, I need to learn Spanish. This isn't just like, oh, I want to learn Spanish because it's a cool language. Like, no, I need it for business reasons. And if I'm 56, the dude's going to be like, well, bro, you knew since you were 46 you needed to do this. It was
your goal.
Yeah.
Right. It was your goal.
So how do we be that future self? And that is
That's great.
Mind. And I'm not even giving the book away, because when he digs down into that, you start realizing like, wow. So when I start measuring the gain and I start measuring and I start building my future self, wow.
So the comparison is to your future self, which is better. It's all in a positive perspective. That his whole trilogy, which I haven't read that one, but the 10X is easier than 2X, the who, not how. Well, the who, not how is what helped me with hiring Eileen and then bringing Sophia on, because I was just like, I'm at max capacity.
Yes.
I can't do anything else. So
this is such a good book. When I read the title, I knew immediately this is it. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, it's who. Before I even read the book, I was like, oh my God.
Isn't it wild how it's so obvious? It's like right in front of your face, but
right in front of your face.
His stuff is great. His stuff is great.
It is great.
Thank you, my friend.
I think the longest podcast I've ever done was like, oh, no, seriously, about this long. It was with Ryan Handley years ago. So this has been an absolute, this has been great. And I really, truly could go on forever. And I do appreciate you asking me these questions, right? Because there is no like solid answer.
Right.
There's just like, you really ask me questions that I have to think to myself, like, this is just what I've created. You know, it's just what I've created. I've tried to do the best that I can to be nice to people and to put them forward. I've lost a lot of money. I should be a lot richer than I am, okay? Because like I give away, Travis gets on, I give away too much money, right? He gets mad. We were in the Philippines and he said to me, Jason, would you mind telling me how much we gave away in bonuses this year? And I don't ever lie to Travis. I just sometimes don't tell him unless he asks, right? It's one of those things. So I had to tell him, and I mean, I about thought that he was going to hit me, right? Because like, it's like I give more than I should because I'm so appreciative of the fact that I am right here where I am. And my people know that. They just know that. They just know that we do so much for them. I try to do different things, right? Like Christmas presents for my staff. What are you going to buy them? I don't know. Their ass sits in a chair all day. I bought them all new chairs. Everybody got nice damn chairs, right? They said to me, they're like, no one's ever bought me a chair, right? Well, I just think to myself, like, what can I get them that makes their life better, right? We always think about getting them a gift card or something, but like, no, they're putting their ass in a chair all the day. Or, oh, you don't want a chair?
That's why I got them risers.
I'll get you a desk, right? Two of my people, they got desks. Oh, they got the risers. So it's like, you have to constantly be doing that. And I'm going to tell you one thing that I try to do, and we can end with this, I promise. Find that employee that sometimes, and I think some of the nicest things you can do, and I don't do this a lot, but I do this. I noticed. Okay? There's your employees are doing things in your other office, and they're wondering if anybody's noticing, you know? And when you find those things, don't tell them. Hold it back. And when when it's Christmas, when it's their birthday or something, and you want to give them a card to say something, that's when you bring that moment up. That's when you say, it was 5:30 and we were working on that account that was due that next day, and a lot of people left, but I want you to know that I wasn't in the office, but I know you stayed at 5:30, and I noticed that you're putting that person as being important, right? Those little bitty things will prevent salary increases. They will prevent hard times. People will stay working with you if, as a business, doesn't matter any business, for one of three reasons. And you have to have two of the three, okay? Either there's a good culture, a good career path, or they can make money. And you have to have two of the three. If you don't have two of the three, you'll lose the person. So if the person if the job doesn't pay much, but they have a great culture and a great career path, they'll stay, right? If it's terrible culture, but there's a career path and they're paid really well,
it's temporary, right?
See what I mean?
Right.
So if you have two of those three, so it's about looking at your people every day and saying, are we creating those? And the money is what the money is. But when you do those little things that let them know you care, that money becomes far less important because now they see that culture and that career path, right? But when we have a terrible culture and we don't give them a career path, you wonder why they're asking you for a raise all the time. right? Because you've got to have at least 2 of those. So that's one of the things. So how do I get them to not ask me for a raise all the time? Give them a better culture, or give them a career path, and then that doesn't become such a big thing. These are just things that I've learned, and there's going to be, for any new business owner that's watching this, or you know as a veteran business owner, that you've just got to learn these things, right? And there's best things you can do.
There's no fast forward.
And what's crazy is there's people listening to us talk in your podcast, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a good point. And then they go experience it, and they go, oh shit, that's what Ciara was talking about on that thing. So even listening to it, you're still not getting it until you get out there. But I do appreciate you allowing me to come on this.
I appreciate
you. I really
Thank
truly
you.
do. This was very fantastic.
I appreciate everything you've done for me, for the industry. You know, your reach is impactful, and it's wide, and you use it for good. So, you know,
thank you.
Us at the bottom, we always
that.
appreciate that. So
Appreciate
thank
that
you.
very much.
And tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me a lot of places. Just hit me, Agency Intelligence. You could go to, insuranceenterprinseintelligence.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way, Jason Cass. You can find it agencyintelligencemastermind.com. You can go to the insurancepodcastnetwork.com. So we have all
Just
kinds.
Google them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And we'll put it in the show notes.
But
anyways.
no, and I really do appreciate this. I really do. And if any of you guys have any questions, or you want to reach out to me about anything, one of the things I'm very passionate about is about virtual employees, and that's how we delegate. And we didn't even really get into that.
I know, we didn't even get into it.
No, you please reach out to me. I get agents that reach out to me all the time. And thank you very much, Ciara. I'm glad we met.
Likewise. Thank you.